Tadduva asaitad adechanda apahad papma abhayam rupam tadhayata priya Istriya samaparishvakto navapyam kinchan vedana.
Yamini Purnatilaka Krishnamurti, or Yamini Krishnamurti, as the world to classical Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi dance forms. She was born in 1940 in Madanapalli, in Andhra Pradesh, into an eminent family which was more involved in literature and the other arts. Yamini's father M. Krishnamurti was a Sanskrit scholar, and her grandfather was an expert on Urdu poetry. Yamini was the first in the family to take up dance because she was entranced by the dance sculptures in South India's temples. "I do not believe talent is an ordained calling," she said. "It could happen to most unexpected people at the most unexpected of times and defies logic." At the age of 5, Yamini began her learning of Bharatanatyam at Kalakshetra in Chennai under Rukmini Devi Arundel.
To start with, this particular dance form was nurtured in the temples of South India by Devadasis. They were supposed to be the brides of the god, and they had to have certain ritualistic training, and believing in God was one of the conditions perhaps in the temple dance. And all the dances that we do in Bharatanatyam traditional performances are connected with some god or goddess. Their depiction, their attributes and their stories, mythology, all as part of this dance form. This is the basis of this dance. The theoretic part is the mythology of our dance form. So, in that relevance, there is the relevance of believing God. It helps. Believing the sense you should know the attributes of the god and goddesses, you must know the mythology of our Indian culture. And each Shiva has many manifestations. And similarly, Vishnu or all the Trinity like Brahma, all these stories are very important for the dancer to understand, imbibe in her psyche. Well, belief is something else, knowledge is something else. If you know about them, then you perform better with those pieces. Belief, you can believe without knowing anything, you can believe something abstract also, something not in a form of a god, but in form of a light or a form of a tree. Trees are worshipped in India, stones are worshipped in India, rivers are worshipped in India. So, we feel everywhere in nature there is God. That is how our Indian thoughts are made of. And for a dancer, she should understand what is Shiva, what is Parvati, what is her attribute, what is the connection between them, because you are doing those themes. It's knowing Shakespeare is better when you are enacting something of Shakespeare play, isn't it? You have to read what the poet has said. So, in that way, whether there is a belief or not, you must know the knowledge of these stories and be thorough with what you are doing. So, in that sense, I think it's essential to understand Indian philosophy, Indian religion and other things that part of the dance. We bring aesthetic pleasure in dance. What is an ultimate purpose of a dance is to bring beauty. Satyam Shivam Sundaram, that is what our great wise men have said. the true, the good and the beautiful that we are creating on the stage. So these three elements are in you. You are the worshipper of beauty. I think even have a belief of with this God or that God is not so important, but if you have belief in beauty and your quest is to create beauty, I think that you are going on the right direction.
She began to build further upon her foundations at Kalakshetra under maestros like Kanchipuram Ellappa Pillai, Tanjavur Kittappa Pillai, Dandayudhipani Pillai, and Mylapore Gauriamma. She extended her learning to the Kuchipudi form under Vedantam Lakshminarayan Shastre, Chinta Krishnamurti, and Pasamurti Venugopal Krishna Sharma.
Silpi today will do Shyamala Stotra. Okay. Manikya Veenam Upalalayanti Manikya Veenam Upalalayanti Madalasa Manjula Vagvila Sa. Sani pa sani pa ma ga ma pa. Sani 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 pa ma pa ni pa ma.
She was perhaps unique among her peers to learn both the Pandalur and the Kanchipuram styles. Yamini's passion for dance helped her to cross further frontiers in each dance discipline and language into Odissi, which she learned from Pankaj Charan Das and Kelucharan Mahapatro. Her musical genius took her forward into Carnatic vocal music under M.D. Ramanathan, and she even learnt the veena from Kalpakam Swaminathan. Each of them contributed immensely to the art of Yamini Krishnamurti.
Well, I was very fortunate in many ways. As a child, I was living in the temple town, Chidambaram, from the age of 3.5 to 6. And the whole day I was playing inside the courtyard of the Nataraja temple. Having seen those fascinating sculptures, I had such attraction that I used to every day go and watch them. And perhaps this went inside my emotional side. And when I grew up, I had only idea was to move my body beautifully. The body attracted me very much, the human form. And that was one of my very good exposure to dance. And I told my father that I want to be a dancer. And you know, in South India, there is always a ritual that every girl learns Carnatic music at the age of 4 or 5. And those who have little more interest in other things, they teach dancing. So there was one local dance teacher who taught me. We were living in a town called Madanapalli, that's our hometown. So from 7 to 8, I was learning with those local teachers. But still, it was not very satisfying for me. So my father said, this girl is totally engrossed in dancing. Perhaps she wants to be a dancer, then we can't help it. We'll give her the freedom. So we went to Madras. How fortunate I was that I was staying in my uncle's house, and Kalakshetra was very near to my place, walking distance. So my father enrolled me there, saying that, well, we get rid of this nuisance. So I went and learned the grammar part of the dance.
We begin with the concept of abhinaya, the significant aspect of India's classical dance. The word abhinaya literally means leading forward and tallies intimately with the legal term of leading evidence. The evidence which a classical dancer leads, in order to be acceptable, must be prima facie beautiful. In fact, in the dancer's code, more than in the poets, beauty is truth and truth beauty. The left arm remains as it was in the creeper position, latahasta. The right arm too remains in the same position. Only the closed fist, the kapitha, opens out in the expository symbol, the Vyakhyana mudra, so well known in sculpture because it is the teacher's sign both in the Hindu and the Buddhist iconography. Thus, Dakshinamurti and the Buddha show this hand position. It is also known as Chin Mudra, the mudra of enlightenment. From the initiatrix, the woman becomes the goddess, again by a change of mudras. The right hand is fully opened out and held up, while the left hand, which is also opened, is held down. The right hand in this position is called the Abhaya Hasta, the fear-allaying sign, and the left hand, the Varada Hasta, the boon-giving sign. It may be noted here that since the right is traditionally the male half, and the left the female, the masculine function limited to the assurance of freedom from fear, while the feminine function is one of giving bounty. This division of function is again not unflattering to womanhood. When woman, as the embodiment of grace, is seated on the lion throne, Lalita on the Simhasana, Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity, holds above her the white umbrella, shimmering with a myriad tassels of pearls. Indrani, the goddess of power, and Rati, the goddess of pleasure, wave the fly whisks on either side. Saraswati herself, the goddess of learning, plays the veena, while a bevy of apsaras, gazelle-eyed and nimble of foot, dance ecstatically. Their gestural and facial expression, angika and sattvika bhavas, bringing out rasa, aesthetic delight, in the most abundant measure. Here is the great Sankara's Sanskrit verse.
And I was totally obsessed with dancing, and maybe this is the reason most people ask me why you became a dancer. I said because of my fascination for the sculpture. And maybe I had some talent, it has to come out. You can't suppress the talent. And having learned the grammar, I couldn't complete the course because I learned very fast. Then my father said that if you want to really develop as an artist, you must not stay in one school. There's a good grammar school, but grammar is not everything in dance. You need poetry, you need expression, you need something, distinctive style of yourself. That's what is essential. Just doing a thing perfectly is not everything in art. Art is beyond that. My father, being a scholar and poet, he conceived that I should develop as an artist of a great dimension.
Chandrashalayam, the pleasure tower, Gramecha, township, Udhruta, something raised up, Kopayoho, anger, Slaganecha, praising somebody, Alapadmascha kirtito bharatadhibihi. These are the many ways one shows the hand of Alapadma.
I came around for my teens. Another thing was what very important thing happened in my life was I saw Bala when I was 15. In the first time I saw a revelation of dance. I mean, then I said, this everything in life is nothing better than this. That also gave me another encouragement to see an artist of a caliber and have faith in this art form.
Voshte, the lips. Pravishta rupecha, be entering the flower. Radane, the teeth. Prashna bhavane, asking a question. Linge, Shivalinga. Nastiti vachane, I do not know. Smarane, recalling. Abhinayantike, act of a, end of a play. Abhinayanti, Katibandha Karshanecha, removing and wearing the garments. Parirambha vidhikrame, lover's embrace. Ganta ninado shikharo, playing the bell before the idol. These are the Shikharahasta in various combinations.
And after that, I felt happy. Even I was not famous. If I did not achieve whatever that I have done, I wouldn't be unhappy because I'm able to dance. The means and end in itself, the dance has to have that inner joy when she's dancing. That's the ultimate reward she gets. Nothing else. The other things are just comes and goes. So that I found.
Yamini's debut in 1957 in Chennai brought immediate recognition of her charisma and stage presence. She was only 17. By 1960, she became one of the most admired dancers in the country. Her performances not only earned her kudos, but also brought about national and international recognition to Bharatanatyam and to Kuchipudi as living art forms in the late 20th century. Yamini played a significant role in popularizing Kuchipudi, then lesser known as a dance form.
So then I started learning from great maestros. I was fortunate that they were all not so busy at that time. say early 60s. They just, and my career was alongside with India's discovery of its own heritage. So we both combined in our own discovery. And the gurus were there for me to learn further, like I learned 2 streams of dance, one from Pandanallur from Kittappa Pillai and Kanchipuram style with Bala dance. I learned from Yellappa Pillai. So he taught me certain aspects and he taught me certain aspects. Yellappa was more emotional and his style was little more on the laya part, complex rhythmic patterns. And Kittappa taught me how to cover the stage with movement. His movement was so graceful that one movement to other movement, it used to go very smoothly. He taught me that aspect. Transmission is very important. Some people do it in jerky manner. It's not so. It should just disappear into one to the other, like the waves go into one to the other. So that is how he taught me that aspect, and I learned this complex rhythmic patterns from, and it's also speed. He believed in speed. And he's opposite, exactly opposite Kittappa. He wants very slow pace. Both are difficult. The high speed is difficult, very slow is also a very difficult thing to do in life. So both things I had good training, and another fortunate thing that Gauri Amma of Mylapore, the Abhinaya Devadasi, who was one of the Devadasis, she used to literally stay in my house. So we used to keep her in a home, and whenever I used to tour and come back, she used to teach me 1 or 2 things about Abhinaya, one padam, something. So the whole thing was nothing but dance. I mean, one can't escape. I meekly went on and on and on. That's my story.
The magic of Yamini in performance can only be remembered today in memorable descriptions like this. Everyone in the packed hall is engrossed in watching a slim and graceful dancer performing a varnam as she moves to the front of the stage and in a deftly subtle movement of her wrists casts a fishing net. The people in the front rows flinch. Years have gone by since, but time cannot dull the creative spark. The magic remains in her sheer presence, in her graceful mobile hands that can eloquently trace an entire civilization in the air.
Actually, I started teaching very early in my life. Why? Because you teach, you learn a lot, what to do, what not to do. It's a very good discipline, teaching. Teaching is to cleansing oneself, you know. By teaching, you learn more. And in 75, I started teaching. Just like that, let's see. I became such a success. There were 300, 400 people learning. I said, this is too much. I mean, I should run away from this place. I could teach so many people. All age groups started coming, you know. That was the popularity that I gave for dance.
Thank you. might be having the same feeling the moment you enter this place. There's this natural environment which is totally different from the Delhi metropolitan city. When you enter, it's the statues, the natural plants and whatever she has kept, and even the amphitheater and everything, it is a lot of cultural heritage has been preserved here. So when So when we come here, we get the feeling that we are coming to a very sacred place, and then we go back and we feel really cherished. We cherish these moments all the time. It's
In 1990, she began the Yamini School of Dance in Delhi, and initially it was very demanding on her time and energy. It left her with lesser time to compose. Today, her school is established, and the time has come for her to return to composing. Yamini is working on a ballad on the Gandhian order of life, and another one on the depiction of the goddess Kali by Tagore and Subramanya Bharati. Today, her life revolves around her dance school, her students, and her compositions. Unfettered by anything but dance, Yamini Krishnamurti is today considered an iconoclast in the Bharatanatyam art form. In the realms of Bharatanatyam and Kuchipudi, Yamini Krishnamurti set standards that are difficult to match, but certainly something to aspire to. In the halls of fame, she will be remembered for a long time as one of the greats. The contemporary today will become the traditional to the next generation if it stands the test of time. Today's classical dance has evolved quite a lot from its origins in royal courts and temples. But in order to stand that test of time, any art form must have great practitioners, thematic substance, and a solid foundation.
What the words cannot explain, dancers should do it. That's the idea of the whole thing. So the truth comes out of your abhinaya, your emotion. It goes beyond words. It goes beyond words. The communication is something different. The words give certain amount of communication, but dance gives universal communication. Even you don't have the no language, but you can explain what you are doing. You can tell people what you are feeling, and that is called rasa. The rasa is what we are actually aiming at in dance. Rasa is supposed to be the Brahma himself. They have equated rasa to the Brahma, the truth of the universe. So only the dancer can give that rasa, and so the dancer is actually heightened performer of language, or even poet. I think she has a different level of quality. Yes.
Telugu by birth, Kannadiga by extraction, Tamil by training. Yamini is an exponent of the Bharatanatyam, the Kuchipudi, and the Odissi dance forms. Her eclectic training is counterbalanced by her phenomenal assimilation. Though Yamini learnt from so many gurus, she was never one to encourage the divisive force of banis or gharanas. Yamini played a significant role in popularizing Kuchipudi, then lesser known as a dance form.
The greatest of all rasa, the king of rasa is Sringara, romance, that is called love. That is chapters after chapters have been written in Sanskritic language. That is a dominant rasa. I think that's going to be dominant rasa always. Love is a theme that everlasting. The filmmakers do it, the dramatists do it, the singers sing, the dancer dances, but it never ends. It never ends. The scope is so much. Similarly, other rasa that I love is compassion, and India is connected with the rasa compassion from the very beginning. Karuna is our basic, I think it's our national rasa perhaps. Like you say, the national anthem, it is a national rasa of compassion. That's the greatest. And the second rasa is, the third one in my category is valor. Valor in the sense of destroying evil.
Unfettered by anything but dance, Yamini Krishnamurti is today considered an iconoclast in the Bharatanatyam art form. Yamini was a trendsetter, and early in her career she enchanted not only the national consciousness but also an international cultural milieu. She enlivened and infused centuries-old tradition with her own brand of vitality, which created that vital bridge between her and an audience that could not follow the language of Bharatanatyam. They came from curiosity, but they were captivated by her magic.
गतासूनां बाहु प्रकर कृतकांची परिलस निदम्बां दिग्वस्त्रां त्रिभुवनवितात्रीं त्रिनयनां श्मशानस्ते तल्पे शवहृदि महाकालसुरत प्रयुक्तां त्वां ध्यायन् जननी जडचेतापि शिवा बदामस्ते किं वा जननी वयमुच्चैर्जडधियः न धाता नाभीषो हरिरपि न ते वेति परमं तथापि त्वद्भक्तिर्मुखरयति अस्माकममिते तदेतत्क्षन्तव्यं न खलु पशुरोधसमुचितः प्रसूते संसारं जननी भवति पालयति च समस्तं क्षित्यातिकलय समये संहरति च अतस्त्वं धातासि त्रिभुवनपतिः श्रीपतिरपि महेशोऽपि प्रायः सकल
nakatatim, nam trakatatim, nakatatim, 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 nam trakatatim, nakatatim, nakatatim, takatatim, nakatatim, nam trakatatim, takatatim, nakatatim, nakatatim, nam trakatatim,
What is the meaning of Arangetram? Would you please explain it?
It's not a Tamil word. Arangetram is to climb the stage.
Climb the stage.
Climb the stage for the first time.
First time,
And it is very auspicious occasion for a dancer because all her training for many years, she's going to come on the public stage and people will also give her encouragement, bless her and see how far she's talented.
How far she's.
And it's an Arangetram for both the Guru as well as the Shishya because both have been working together.
Yeah.
So it's a very exciting day. At the same time, it's very challenging. And it is a start of a great, a great career. Or most people think it's a social event. It's not so. It is something that you are putting up your whole life into the dedication to become a dancer, the first stage.
The first stage.
Well, I given certain effort I've made to make them dance, and whatever little they learned, they were happy about it. At least they could do it. So they knew their defects and they knew their shortcomings, but still they wanted to dance, and everyone has right to dance.
In her 60s today, she continues to be an artistic tour de force that refuses to fade away into painful anonymity. Her own words are an index of her mind, reminding us that the past has been exciting, the present extremely challenging. As for the future, it holds a lot of promise and many surprises, and I cannot wait to unravel them.
See, my father passed away all of a sudden when I was on tour abroad. I came to India. I'm just going to see him in a couple of days' time, after a long gap. And I get this news that he is no more. Well, we are all prepared for this tragic sequence. But in my case, my father was part of the whole of my career. He was a very important person in my directing me, illuminating my programs. So his going away was the biggest tragedy I have ever faced in my life. And what happened in that particular year, a couple of years, I was all booked all over India, and I had to go abroad also. So for a moment, I thought that I won't be able to do these programs because something inside me was empty. But my father had given me this particular instruction, and what he said, the honesty about a performer is even in the greatest tragedy he has to perform. His God is the audience. Many a times there were very few people in sometimes, and my musicians would say, why sir, we had to give all through 3 hours program, we'll just get sorted. My father said, no, till the end you have to dance. That is what he had instructed me particularly. So with that instruction, with that training, I imbibed from him. So he gave me the strength to go through this tragedy perhaps, that I should not stop my work. And I went through, but there was, even today the pain is there. I mean, it never goes away. It's a permanent pain, a loss of somebody who depend on so much. And also some of my musicians also, my Natwanas, my great Mudangis, all passed away fairly young. So one by one the tragedy has touched me deeply. But that's life.
Yamini will be remembered as the celestial nymph, the quintessential Apsara, who is a symbol of the sheer joy of dancing. It takes an artist of the stature of Yamini Krishnamurti to give an ancient form a modern accent and modern meaning. Without it, traditions in art would only lead to sterile imitation, without the breath of life, without passion, without sensuousness. That is what Yamini Krishnamurti leaves us with, not only in dance, but also in our entire artistic heritage.
Well, it has got the quality of bringing people together, because people come to see Bharatanatyam recitals, and it can be very powerful media for uniting in aesthetic pleasure. So it does soothe people from their violent temperament, and it gives them a sense of beauty and a sort of, a kind of a feeling which is not in a mundane world. You go into a different world actually when you appreciate dance. So it has a wonderful effect on people, and people with aesthetic sensitivity, they can get more of it by watching a good program. And all these fine arts is to soothe the human touch. It has a human touch. It also cleanses people from depression, elevates people in their sensitivity, and it is a wonderful instrument for enjoying oneself and also enjoying in a harmonious manner.